The installation of a steam heating system marked First Methodist Church as the most modern religious facility in Hamilton County, a distinction that gave the community immense pride. On Sunday mornings in Cedar Creek, the church's pews were filled to capacity, a sea of families dressed in their best clothes, while the sound of children's voices lifted in hymns echoed against the high rafters. Yet, what truly set First Methodist apart from neighboring congregations was not its physical structure, but the Sunday school program that had grown into the heartbeat of the town's spiritual life. Under the careful and disciplined leadership of Margaret Wilson, a stern-faced woman of 42 who had come from Pennsylvania 5 years earlier, the program expanded far beyond anyone's expectations. It had begun modestly, with only a small number of children from Cedar Creek itself. But over time it flourished until more than 200 young participants came each week, not only from the town, but from the surrounding counties as well. Parents willingly brought their children from as far as 20 miles away, enduring long and uncomfortable wagon rides along muddy, rutted country roads, all for the privilege of attending the classes that had become almost legendary throughout central Indiana. To them, First Methodist was not simply a church. It was a beacon of learning, morality, and community discipline, a place where they believed their children would be molded into citizens of promise and faith. Margaret Wilson commanded respect in a way few others could. Her reputation grew not only because of her extensive biblical knowledge, but also because of the unwavering discipline she enforced in her classroom and her uncanny gift for transforming even the most unruly children into obedient model students. She carried with her years of experience gained while teaching in Philadelphia's harsh industrial schools, where discipline was valued as highly as knowledge itself, and she apt. Given her extensive experience with children from diverse and difficult backgrounds, Margaret Wilson seemed to possess an almost intuitive understanding of how to reach young minds regardless of their family circumstances, personal temperament, or natural abilities. It was as though she carried within her a key to the most guarded hearts, one that opened not with indulgence, but with authority tempered by purpose. Assisting her in this mission was Sarah Coleman, a soft-spoken woman of 38 who had never married and who seemed, to many, to possess an almost magical gift for soothing even the most restless and unmanageable child. With her gentle voice and her boundless patience, Sarah could quiet tantrums with a word and bring order to chaos with the touch of her hand. She had joined the program 2 years after Margaret's arrival, leaving behind her work at a Methodist mission in Cincinnati, where she had tended to orphans who knew more of hunger and loss than of affection or security. Her references had been impeccable, a string of glowing recommendations from ministers and matrons alike, and in Cedar Creek her devotion to the children's welfare appeared absolute, untainted by vanity or ambition. Together, Margaret and Sarah formed a formidable partnership, one grounded in discipline and softened by compassion, and for many families they became symbols of both moral authority and maternal care. Yet their work did not unfold in isolation. Above them stood Robert Hayes, a prosperous businessman in his 50s whose influence reached far beyond the church's walls. Hayes owned shares in 3 coal mines, 2 grain elevators, and the largest general store in Cedar Creek, and his name was synonymous with success in Hamilton County. His appointment to the church board had been unanimous, for few men could match his generosity or his readiness to place his wealth at the service of religious enterprise. It was Hayes who had funded the expansion of the educational wing. Before we move deeper into the shadows of Cedar Creek's story, pause for a moment, subscribe, press that button, and let me know in the comments what state you're listening from. Do you have the courage to discover what really happened in that Methodist church basement? The investigation that followed the revelations in Cedar Creek would expose far more than the actions of a few sinister individuals. It would uncover the chilling reality of an entire community's willingness to avert its gaze when confronted with truths too dark to admit, and it would reveal the presence of a criminal network that had been operating quietly across the Midwest for more than a decade. This was not an isolated case of evil, but rather a symptom of something larger, rooted in wealth, influence, and a religious veneer that disguised horrors beneath sanctified walls. Cedar Creek sat in the heart of Indiana's coal country, a town whose Methodist faith ran as deep as the mine shafts that honeycombed the earth beneath it. By 1876, the population had swelled to nearly 3,000 souls, most of them hard-working families drawn to promises of steady employment in the expanding rail yards and coal operations. These industries linked Indiana's natural resources directly to the insatiable appetite of Chicago's markets, feeding the economic boom of the Midwest. The Baltimore and Ohio Railroad had arrived in Cedar Creek in 1871, and with its arrival came transformation. What had once been a sleepy farming settlement was thrust into the role of bustling commercial hub, alive with the clang of hammers, the shouts of workers, and the rumble of freight cars carrying coal, grain, and timber toward the great city by the lake. The rapid expansion, however, brought challenges that tested the fragile fabric of rural life. Each week, Irish and German immigrants poured into town in search of work in the mines and along the rail yards, their Catholic and Lutheran traditions clashing with the established prots.